It was an historic farewell, complete with a phalanx of camera crews, celebrities, more than 100 world leaders, past and present. But a notable no-show at today's memorial for Nelson Mandela: network news anchors. Of the big three, only NBC's Brian Williams was on hand to witness history. So was it a media snub, or was it just a sign of the times? The Associated Press writes, quote, "The moves show how economics and a dwindling interest in international news are changing the biggest broadcast networks, where a decade ago there would have been little question that their most prominent faces would be on hand for such a big story." Joining me to discuss, CNN senior media correspondent and host of Reliable Sources, Brian Stelter. Brian, I should note here at CNN, our colleagues Christiane Amanpour, Anderson Cooper, Chris Cuomo, all anchors, all made the trip. But this obviously isn't about bragging rights. It's about the changing face of news. What's your reaction to this notable absence?
Well, there was a time in an age when all three nightly news anchors would have been there. Where anchors go, attention follows. And I was pretty surprised to see that Diane Sawyer of ABC and Scott Pelley of CBS did not travel to South Africa for the memorial service or for the other services this week. But ABC and CBS folks there would say that it's a different time and a different age now, and that it's better to have reporters who have covered Mandela all his life actually there while having the anchors back in studio. They say that this attitude that I'm expressing is kind of obsolete.
Let me play devil's advocate with you, because Diane is a friend. I obviously used to work at ABC News, and I understand their argument. There just isn't the interest in world news among the American people, and there isn't the money. It's incredibly expensive to broadcast from a place like Johannesburg.
You know, or any of the war zones that the United States finds itself, involved in right now. I sometimes think to myself, if one of the nightly news anchors, who has 8 or 9 or 10 million viewers a night, went to Afghanistan every few months and gave us an update on the war there, the American people might remember the wars in the same way that if they were to go to South Africa, we would be more aware of the Mandela Memorial Service. But you know, that might be an argument that was more true 10 years ago than it is now. After all, if you want to learn about the memorial service today, there is endless amounts of information about it online, on the internet, including from articles from ABC and CBS and other outlets that didn't send anchors there. This is maybe an example of the changing media landscape, where the internet is providing most international news and where television is more focused on domestic news.
I wonder if anyone is willing to suggest that maybe the viewers are just not as interested in the wars, Afghanistan, or before that Iraq, or international events, and ultimately, this being a commercial enterprise, well, we're beholden to them and what they want.
There is a significant part of that is true. You know, I found myself thinking earlier today when I read that Associated Press article you quoted, if American viewers really wanted more coverage of Africa, then there would be more coverage of Africa. You know, right now there are very small bureaus in Africa among the three major networks. ABC, for example, has someone in Nairobi, but no one in Johannesburg, just to give one example. If American viewers really wanted more coverage, there would be more coverage because they'd be reacting to the market demand. Instead, what American viewers are more interested in, it seems like, is coverage of issues here in the United States. And of course, if you're interested in world news, there's never been more of it online. But instead of being passive, leaning back and watching it on TV, you have to be active. You have to seek it out on your own terms.
Brian Stelter, thank you.